How do you survive in a decade where every punch could end a career? The 90s heavyweights weren't just fighters, they were absolute beasts. But when the dust settled, who really owned the era? Let's find out. Number 10, James "Buster" Douglas, the man who pulled off the biggest upset in boxing history. In 1990, as a 42-1 underdog, Douglas stepped into the ring against the undefeated, undisputed, and seemingly unstoppable Mike Tyson. Nobody gave him a chance except himself, especially when Douglas defeated Tyson's early assault and fought back with precision and delivered a devastating 10th round knockout to become the WBA, WBC, and IBF heavyweight champion. That moment alone created his place in history. But his reign didn't last. Later that year, he defended his titles against Evander Holyfield, and it was a disaster. Holyfield dominated, knocking him out in the 3rd round, ending his story just as fast as it began. Douglas then faded from the scene for most of the decade. In 1998, he tried to make a comeback, but got stopped in the 1st round by Lou Savarese, proving his prime was long gone. Despite his decline, Douglas's name will forever be linked to that one legendary night in Tokyo. He defeated Iron Mike, and that alone was enough to make history. Number 9, David Tua. The Samoan-born powerhouse who became one of the most feared punchers of the 1990s. Known for his devastating left hook and relentless pressure, Tua made a significant impact in the heavyweight division. In 1996, Tua announced his arrival on the world stage with a sensational 19-second knockout of John Ruiz, showcasing his explosive power. The following year, he faced Oleg Maskaev, securing an 11th round TKO after a grueling battle. By 1998, Tua demonstrated his determination and punching prowess by defeating Hasim Rahman via a 10th round TKO, further solidifying his reputation as a powerful contender. However, Tua's ascent hit a roadblock in 1997 when he faced Ike Ibeabuchi in a high-stakes bout. Tua suffered a 12-round unanimous decision loss, a setback that highlighted the challenges he faced against top-tier opponents. Despite these missed matchups and falling short in some of his most significant fights, Tua's legacy endures the memorable victories that have left an incredible mark on boxing history. Number 8, Ike Ibeabuchi. What happens when a fighter looks destined for greatness but never gets the chance to prove it? That's the story of Ike, who had all the tools to dominate but vanished before reaching his peak. In 1997, he fought against David Tua, a fight that still gets talked about today. With an insane 1,730 punches thrown between them, Ibeabuchi defeated Tua to secure a unanimous decision victory in what many call one of the greatest heavyweight slugfests ever. And 2 years later, he knocked out Chris Bird in the 5th round, leaving no doubt about his power. But just as quickly as he succeeded, Ibeabuchi disappeared. Legal troubles cut his career short, leaving behind an undefeated record, but a mountain of unanswered questions about what could have been. We'll never know. Number 7, Oliver McCall, aka the Atomic Bull. If there was ever a boxer who could walk through fire and not flinch, it was this guy. His career was a roller coaster of shocking upsets, bizarre moments, and one of the strangest breakdowns in boxing history. In 1994, McCall did what no one saw coming. He knocked out the undefeated Lennox Lewis in just the 2nd round. One punch, boom. The WBC heavyweight belt was his, and the boxing world was left speechless. He wasn't just tough, he was dangerous. And to prove it wasn't a fluke, he followed it up in 1995 with a win over the legendary Larry Holmes, taking a unanimous decision. But then in '95, McCall lost his title to Frank Bruno in a decision loss that didn't have the fireworks of his earlier fights. But nothing could prepare his fans for what happened in 1997 when he got his rematch with Lennox Lewis. Instead of going to war, McCall broke down. Mid-fight, he literally stopped throwing punches, started crying in the ring, and left everyone, including the referee, wondering what was going on. The fight was stopped in the 5th round, giving Lewis a technical knockout win in one of the strangest moments in boxing history. However, his shocking win over Lewis alone earns him a spot on this list, because if boxing has taught us anything, it's that one punch can change everything. Number 6, George Foreman. A man who redefined what it meant to make a comeback. In 1994, at the age of 45, he stepped into the ring against the undefeated Michael Moorer. Odds weren't in his favour, but in the 10th round, Foreman landed a perfect right hand that sent Moorer crashing down. Just like that, he became the oldest heavyweight champion in history. However, a year later, Foreman lost his title against Alex Schultz, winning a majority decision in a fight that some believed could have gone the other way. But before his historic title win, there was a setback in 1993. Tommy Morrison, known for his speed and movement, fought a disciplined fight, avoiding Foreman's power and winning by unanimous decision. But what makes Foreman's story special isn't just the wins or the losses, it's the fact that he came back after a decade-long retirement and took over the heavyweight division again. Number 5. Michael Moorer. Moorer wasn't just another heavyweight, he was a southpaw with serious power and a chip on his shoulder. In 1994, he shocked the world by defeating Evander Holyfield to win the WBA and IBF titles, proving he belonged among the best. But his reign didn't last. Later that year, he got knocked out in the 10th round, a tough reality check. Still, Moorer wasn't one to stay down. In 1996, he reclaimed the IBF belt by stopping Francois Botha in the 12th round. But in 1997, Holyfield got his revenge, stopping him in the 8th round and exposing the cracks in Moorer's game. A 3-time heavyweight champ with undeniable skills, Moorer had his moments, but when it came to the biggest fights, he struggled to stay on top. Number 4. Mike Tyson. Mike was like an action movie villain, unpredictable, unstoppable, and always leaving destruction in his wake. The decade started with his jaw-dropping loss to Buster Douglas in 1990, a fight that had Vegas bookies crying. But Tyson wasn't one to stay down. In 1991, he fought against Razor Ruddock, taking him out twice, once by TKO in the 7th round, and again by unanimous decision. Then came 1996, and Tyson was back in title-hunting mode. First, he bulldozed Frank Bruno in 3 rounds to snatch the WBC belt, then sent Bruce Seldon packing in the 1st round to grab the WBA title. Just when it looked like he was reclaiming his throne, Evander Holyfield entered the chat. Their 1996 showdown ended in an 11th round TKO loss for Tyson, and their infamous 1997 rematch, well, let's just say the bite fight became boxing's most talked about moment. Despite the setbacks, Tyson remained a must-watch spectacle, whether it was knocking out Francois Botha in 1999 or delivering some of the most unforgettable post-fight interviews ever. Number 3. Riddick Bowe. Riddick Bowe was a beast in the ring, talented, powerful, and at his peak, nearly unstoppable. His defining moment came in 1992 when he took down Evander Holyfield via unanimous decision, grabbing the WBA, WBC, and IBF heavyweight titles. A year later, he did it again, this time in a close majority decision. He wasn't just about the big-name fights either, he crushed Jorge Luis Gonzalez in 1995 with a brutal 6th round KO. But his most infamous clashes were against Andrew Golota in 1996, where Golota got disqualified in both fights for repeated low blows. Despite all his dominance, Bowe never actually lost in the 90s, a rare feat among heavyweights of that era. However, his inconsistency outside the ring and questionable training discipline kept him from fully cementing his legacy as an all-time great. Number 2. Evander Holyfield. What makes a true champion? Is it skill, power, or the ability to rise after every fall? Well, Evander had it all. He kicked off the 90s by defeating Buster Douglas in 3 rounds to grab the WBA, WBC, and IBF belts, but his real test came against the biggest names of the decade. His 2 wins over Mike Tyson, instant classics, especially the 1997 bite fight, where Tyson took a chunk out of his ear and Holyfield still stood unfazed. He also settled the score with Michael Moorer, taking him out in the 8th round. Of course, even warriors stumble. He lost twice to Riddick Bowe and once to Moorer, but every time he came back swinging. Holyfield wasn't just a champion, he was a warrior who took down giants and never backed down, no matter what. Number 1. Finally, Lennox Lewis. Lewis was the undisputed king of 1990s heavyweight boxing, blending power, precision, and strategy. He made a statement in 1992 by knocking out Razor Ruddock and claimed the WBC title in 1993 by defeating Tony Tucker. His dominance continued with key wins over Andrew Golota, Frank Bruno, and mostly Evander Holyfield twice to unify the heavyweight division in 1999. Despite shocking losses to Oliver McCall in 1994 and Hasim Rahman in 1999, Lewis always bounced back, avenging his defeats and proving his greatness. However, by the end, he had won against every top contender, securing his legacy as the most dominant heavyweight of the era. Who do you think was the true king of 90s heavyweight boxing? Drop your pick in the comments and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more.